This episode of our podcast is the replay of our open forum. Open forum is an open conversation where we talk about whatever those in attendance want to discuss. We can talk about politics, deep theological questions. It's literally open forum. It's whatever you guys want to talk about. So if you ever want to join us live, go to churchforentrepreneurs.com, click on the calendar, look for open forum, get the Zoom information, and join us live. All right, let's get into this open forum.
I'd like to talk about AI.
Okay.
I actually saw someone I've been following. He's a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also a coach, a business coach. So he now has an AI coach.
Okay.
And it's like him, maybe all his content and everything he puts in AI so that one can interact with that with AI as if he's the one coaching you and all that. So I'm like, that's a very fantastic way to scale one's coaching, especially in a country like Nigeria that I would say for a lot of people, I would say the mindset and the purchasing power can be like a challenge when it comes to high ticket.
Yeah.
Like now I charge less than, okay, how much is $100 in $100 is our 150,000. So, and I charge like less than $100 per session. But people still struggle with it.
Yeah.
With it. So I was just thinking that it's something that might work, but I really don't know how to, go about it, if it's something that, what kind of financial investments it will involve and things like that. I don't really even understand how one can, start doing something like that.
So I've seen those things a little bit, and I actually been thinking about that in terms of like, wouldn't it be cool if I could just download all my sermons into a AI chatbot?
Yeah, I actually thought that.
Yeah, and anytime anybody have a question, it knows enough about how I teach and how I think about scripture, it could answer like me, right? And that's highly possible because like I deal with people all the time, right? There's this guy in America called Dave Ramsey. I don't do it anymore, but I used to listen to this radio show like every day for like an hour on my commutes and stuff. And then after a while, when a caller would call and ask a question, I could just answer it because I knew exactly what Dave was going to say. I've heard him so much now. I know how he thinks, right? So I could just answer the question. So I definitely think AI could do that, just kind of replace basic answers if it has enough information about who you are, which would make the cost per coaching experience cheaper because you can scale yourself. However, I think the real question about your coaching business is what kind of business do you have and what kind of demographics are you called to serve, right? Now, high ticket coaching businesses are usually what a lot of people want to go towards because you don't need that many people to actually build out a business, right? You just need a few people. But there's only so many people that can pay for high ticket things, right? And most of the coaching stuff online, we'll be talking about these high ticket offers, charge them $10,000 a month, and there are some people who can pay the $10,000 a month, but that's not the majority of people can pay that much money for a coaching session. So I think you need to drill down on who has God called you to serve, right? If he's called you to serve people who are not as well off financially, then you have to have a low ticket coaching package to serve that demographic. And if you have a low ticket package to serve a demographic, that means that for order for you to have a successful business, you have to serve a lot of people. So just the basic rule of thumb already applies. Like the less money you charge, the more people you got to serve. the more money you charge, the less people you got to serve, right? And so if you're serving this high end, not high end in value, but somebody who's high end in terms of money, you don't have to have that many people. But if it's low end, you got to have a whole bunch of people. And so it's not necessarily about you using AI. It's just that how can you organize your business in such a way that you can scale your advice to multiple people within paying a little bit of money, right? Maybe AI is the answer. Maybe it's a group coaching program doing something like what I'm doing here, because a lot of people have very similar questions. So I would think in terms of just scalability of your services. Um, do you know if guys call you to work with people who can't really afford coaching, or it says guy call you to work with people who can afford to spend a lot of money on coaching?
Okay, so that my for my level of clarity now, I know I'm a career coach.
Okay.
When it comes to anything, employment and all that. In fact, when people struggle with finding a job,
Mm-hmm.
it's somehow ridiculous to me because I know that it's not a problem. How getting a job is not a problem. There are so many things that could come. Maybe their CV is not
Mm-hmm.
well. Maybe they are not looking in the right places. Maybe they don't interview well, or maybe they give
Mm-hmm.
up easily. They don't send in enough applications. When
Mm-hmm.
it comes to all that. So I right now, when it comes to my one-on-one coaching, I
Mm-hmm.
actually coach because I actually do enjoy one-on-one, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't scale that one-on-one because I only have 24 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't coach for less than what I'm coaching for right now because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense for me. It will not work. So
Mm-hmm.
I I even the C-suites that I'm trying to coach, a lot of them still struggle, not because they cannot afford it, but because they just feel that it's expensive because like Nigeria, we are a developing country. So
Mm-hmm.
when people don't for services that people can for no for products that people can see, they
Mm-hmm.
you know like I always give this example. There's this woman that sells food not too far from me. She
Mm-hmm.
was she bought a lace material, that is outfit,
Mm-hmm.
for like 120,000 naira. That was like more than 5 years ago. That was very, very expensive. But
Mm-hmm.
for that woman to probably invest in her
Mm-hmm.
in her business or in
Yeah.
herself to grow her business, she will struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this mindset thing when it comes to paying for this kind of services, that's coaching services. So that's why I actually, when I saw that AI thing, I was like, I can actually replicate myself, like the one on
Mm-hmm.
coaching, without me having to, break my back and, do a lot of toiling,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
able to. That's why it's so attractive to
Mm-hmm.
me. So I'm coaching C-suite now, but I would really love to have more people, to be able to coach more people, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to have more impact. Then I
So let
also,
me let me ask you a question. So can you are you at coaching capacity right now, which means that you got a lot of people on a waiting list that's waiting to get into your program?
no, no. I have people that have indicated interest that I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to warm up for them to, we
Mm-hmm.
start as they pay. But right now, when it comes to ongoing coaching clients, I think I have just two and three on, and the third person on a.
Mm-hmm. So you're really not at capacity yet in terms of just your time yet, in terms of just your coaching business.
No, I'm not.
Okay. 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 So so it's almost like because you're not at capacity yet, you still have room to just add more clients. And then usually once you actually hit capacity, that's when you think about scaling yourself in terms of how to scale up your to handle more people, right? Um, so you may be a little bit early in the thought process of how to scale up, but you should be thinking about it. So as you are coaching people, you're probably learning some of the repetitive things that people do wrong to get a job. You're probably also learning what's the right motivation people need to change some of the things they're doing. And and at some point, whether it's an AI system or just a digital coaching package, you can package your experience into a digital product that people can buy at a lower price, right? And it will deliver similar results. And then what you can do is just raise your in-person prices higher, so people will be paying more of a premium to get your personal time. But then you have this layer of digital products that they can just get just as good of experience with your digital stuff, you know. So I guess I'm wondering if you're a little too early to be thinking about replicating yourself right now, because you're not at capacity yet. Um, do you feel like you have enough, you've coached enough times already that you understand what people need in their patterns already?
I think more of the experience I have in HR as a recruiter. I've done that
Hmm.
for over 20 years.
Hmm.
So I would say I have a good grasp of,
Okay. Okay.
the kind of questions they can ask and all that. So
Hmm.
like, I think what I'm trying to scale using AI is because of the cost.
Hmm.
Thinking if I could, bring down my price and people will still have that feel of one-on-one, I think I'll be able to help more people. That's my thought pattern.
Yeah. So see, coaching is interesting, right? You know, as you said with the story with the lady with the dress. Um, if people don't value coaching, it's a mindset thing that you're working on. So people usually don't value spending money on their mindset more so than tangible things. So sometimes even if you brought the price down, people still may not want to buy it, right? Just because of the mindset issue of that. They don't believe that this will be helpful. So you could run an experiment, and I would just you could run an experiment just to see, like, based on the types of people you're coaching, what is the price point they would be willing to say yes to buy your services, right? So so you can almost do like an experiment where you create like a digital product, um, and you don't have to create it yet. Just create a digital product, create a landing page, and put a price on it, right? Um, and maybe it can be like, it's not you personally, but they can send you chat messages and you'll respond back and forth through chat or something like that. But create a digital product, put the price you think they can afford on it, and then go try to sell it to people, and then see if people are actually willing to actually pay that price for that kind of digital support, and that'll help you understand what's the actual price point that people may be willing to pay for that type of service. You see what I'm trying to say, Bose?
Yes, but I already have an ebook
Okay,
that
so is that selling? How's that selling?
is not selling so well.
Okay.
It's not selling so well. I always advertise it on
Hmm.
my LinkedIn because I have like many followers because I
Hmm.
post a lot of vacancies and things like that. So, but people are not.
Okay. So
I
you
don't
you
think
met.
it's even the price because
Huh?
if it was the price, I would be getting a lot of abandoned.
Hmm.
But
Abandoned carts and stuff like that.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't even get
Yeah.
abandoned.
So you may need to work on your marketing before you work on the AI part. Then
Okay, okay.
you see what I'm saying. So like if I told you I have a teleporter that you just step on the pad and it can teleport you anywhere in the world, um, I need to first figure out how to convince you that this works, and then convince you to spend your money to actually buy the thing, right? And once I have that in place, then I've got this product market fit for my teleporter, right? So I think, Bose, I think this is a marketing issue. more so
Okay.
than a technology issue right now. And so
Okay.
it's like, how do you market yourself in such a way, or market your insight in such a way that people feel like they have to pay money for you? You know what I'm saying? And then once you kind of figure out what that marketing looks like, then we can start asking questions. Well, how do I deliver this thing in a more efficient way? Not that's not my time, right? Because if you already got an ebook, you know, the AI version of you is just like a more expanded version of the ebook. So basically, you're making a thought process. Like, oh, okay, maybe the reason my ebook is not selling is because they want to interact with something, right? I mean, they want to more interactive, right? And that's an assumption, right? If they want to be more interactive, right? So I'm all for testing things, and use the testing is in the marketing, right? Testing, how to actually convince people that this interactive thing or this ebook thing will actually help them, right? You can create a digital course that's not an ebook and still you still have the same things. Like, how do I convince people that this thing will help them, right? And because you could go spend a whole bunch of money on creating an AI, right? And and for me, I think a lot of entrepreneurs like to spend their time doing stuff like that, the creative process. But the harder work is getting the right marketing words right, to get the sales, right? So I think I'd much rather you spend time on just marketing what you're trying, the outcomes you're trying to get for people, and make sure you got the right wording, the right product market fit. Um, because like really what I would love to see first is I would love for you to say, hey, I got so many clients that I can't handle them all. I'd have to figure out a digital way to serve them, right?
Thank you very much.
Anybody else want to give Bose any advice on this? Because basically, I'm switching what she thinks about first. So she's trying to work on the product, and I'm trying to get her to work on the marketing. I think when you're thinking in terms of AI chatbots interacting with people, I do think that's the wave of the future, right? I do think that's the future. Um, and I think more and more websites are going to have a more interactive feeling where they take their knowledge, their content, and they put it inside of a AI system, and you can just interact with the system and get a lot of your basic answers and questions met. So I think you're thinking about the future the right way, but I also want you to work on just the marketing part of it, convince people that they should spend money on this particular product and service. And one way you can test it, Bose, is just take your current in-person experience and just drop the price and see if people just buy it off the shelf. Right. I know you can't really afford to, but as an experiment,
Okay.
like, okay, will they even pay for me at this price? Might be the question. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Maybe
like,
like offer a free coaching.
well, not free, because like people need to pay. You're trying to figure out what number that people be willing to just buy it off the shelf. You know what I'm saying? So like, say for example, you're charging $100 now, right?
Mhm.
And I would say, huh, let me charge $25. Let me see if I charge $25, will people just start running and flooding the market and buying the product, right? Because like if they won't even pay $25 for you, they're not gonna pay $25 for AI system, right? And
Mm.
and coaching is a weird type of business model. Like I said, it's not a tangible product. Sometimes raising your price to $300 will get the fly off the shelf before you go to $25, because coaching has these just weird psychological dynamics about what people are willing to pay for. Mike, you want to give some input, Micah?
Yeah, I didn't catch everything that was said, but I just heard a little bit about marketing suggestions, um, having testimonials, whether she lowers her price or just do it for three good people and give them your coaching system, and then have them do some videos that you can post on social media and or your website so that you've got other people other than yourself talking about the value of your program. You know, we can say how valuable our products and services are all day long, but until somebody else says the same thing, a lot of other people won't bite, regardless of what the price. He's also right, though. A lot of time, the cheaper we make our services, fewer people value them. Years ago, when I did coaching and seminars, uh, people were more apt to pay me $1,000 for our training session than the $300 price. At a 300, 500, and $1,000 price point, I got far more people paying a 500 and 1,000 than, I mean, yeah, the 500 and 1,000 price point than I did at 300. And very few people went for the 125 annual fee. So that's just some suggestions that I had.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And this is a really a good conversation, Bose. I think, I'm glad you asked the question because, like, all of us as entrepreneurs, intuitively, we think we just make the price cheaper, more people will buy it, right? But that's not quite true, right? It's something about price and value that people correlate with that it just you got to experiment with the right marketing, the right price, just find that right product market fit. Um, and also based on a clientele you're going for. So for example, if you're trying to help people find a CEO job and you're going to coach them into a CEO job, you can speak, they'll pay a whole bunch more money versus are you trying to coach people into an entry level job? And if you're trying to coach people into an entry level job, they're probably not willing to pay a lot at really any money at some point with those entry level jobs. Even if you can say, hey, spend $10, I'll guarantee your job. They still may, I don't know, I'm not sure, because just that their thoughts around money, about investing money in themselves to actually move themselves forward, that concept is not there yet. So usually when people have made money or have been in jobs, they're more open to spending money on developing themselves to get higher opportunities. And so that's kind of why you'll find that sometimes at the higher end price points, people are already used to spending money on themselves to actually take them to the next level. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, my my one-on-one clients have been experienced professionals that want to get into the C-suite, or those that
Yeah.
want to climb higher.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So like for those people, I wouldn't drop the price. I would like raise the price for those people. Like, yeah. Like those who are trying to climb higher, they're hungry. They're understanding the need to grow their knowledge. And really, if you can pair your coaching with providing them access to higher positions and invite and not invite them, but help them meet people that can get them to the next level. That's going to just raise your value even more. So yeah,
thank you.
thanks, Jose. Go ahead, DJ.
Yes, going back to the marketing aspect that Bose was concerned about. I went to a webinar maybe about a week ago, and the
Hmm.
person presenting was talking about how to market by using a transformation bridge. So you're not selling your product, you're selling the feeling that they will get from using your product. So
Yeah.
being very aware of the person that you're selling to, what are they need, what are their needs, what are they lacking, looking at that and coming up with your marketing solution that will answer that need. So the presenter gave an example of how, let's say for example, you want to help women to lose weight. Instead of saying, hey, come to me, I can help you to lose weight, you might say, do you want to fit in your jeans for this summer? So just setting it up where you're trying to make sure that you answer the customer's needs, answer what it is that they feel that they need, and
Hmm.
promote your product that way for the transformation, and not what you offer, but how it will make them feel.
Yeah. And that's why people buy expensive clothes, even though the cheaper clothes probably could feel better. The more expensive clothes, the name brand, when they put it on, it makes them feel a certain way, right? Even though a pair of pajamas from the cheapest like Walmart or something make you feel more comfortable, but you'll spend 10 times more on a certain outfit because it'll make you feel a certain way when you wear it in public. So yeah, selling is literally all about feelings. Like how will they feel when they buy this thing? Beyond the utility of it. Like if you got to have food, you got to have food, right? But once you get past like the basic needs, people really buy emotions and feelings and what is that going to mean to me when I have this particular thing. So So thanks, DJ, for bringing it out. Um,
Can I still ask more? Um,
yes. Go ahead.
okay.
But hold on,
So
Bose, before you ask more. Does anybody else want to jump in before we go back to
I'd
we
like
get?
to.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah, it's good. I was able to catch you all this morning. But when I think about the whole coaching kind of industry and how it just kind of boomed in the past, 5, 10 years or whatever, those of us that played sports, it was like you don't become a coach until you have a team. And it was like it's almost backwards now. It's like now you're a coach and you're going trying to find a team, you're trying to find clients, you're trying to find players, you're trying to find people you could coach. So I'm still kind of baffled by that. As a psychologist, and people have to pay, and their insurance pays if they
Mm-hmm.
want to meet with me and all of that. With the coaching industry, it's um, so different. So what I was just thinking about was when definitely know your audience and who you're trying to help. But if I was in that space, I would go and to where those people already are and do a free seminar, do a get to know them. If I'm at a gym and if I want to help people to lose weight, I'm going to go to a gym where people are working out and offer a 20-minute tips on how to lift weights, and then do it that way. Kind of go to them, because it seems like there's so many coaches out there. The marketing strategies that would work with products just doesn't seem to work with people. 'Cause you got all those different factors involved. So I would just encourage to go to the places where people already are and offer them something there, and then be able to meet with them one-on-one. So that was just kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's good advice, Deborah. It's almost like I'm not studying marketing from Jesus. The Bible says that Jesus went throughout all of Galilee teaching and preaching, and his fame went about, right? So it wasn't like Jesus set up shop in one place and had people come to him. He actually went to where the people were and delivered a message where they were, right? So I think what Deborah's suggesting, Bose, is like your ideal client, where do they normally hang out at? Can you go deliver something to them in those spaces as a way to kind of also look for clients too? I think that's a good point, Deborah.
okay. I think I mentioned that I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically my target audience are basically on LinkedIn and Facebook. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a lot of how do I call it? People reaching out to me
Mm-hmm.
for my coaching services. I get
Mm-hmm.
that. But the thing is, why I was really thinking it was the money. I normally have like a 15 to 30 minutes
Like
free session with
free
them.
session, yeah.
And they would really like to
Mm-hmm.
to sign up. But when I now mention how much they need to pay, that's when they'll be like, I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's
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 what
that's normal. That's happening all day, every day. Yeah, every coaching. Yeah.
because because I'm also a recruiter. I
Mm-hmm.
recruit for organizations. So and apart from that, I post vacancies, my friends' vacancies, my colleagues, and some
Mm-hmm.
vacancies I just see that would benefit my
Mm-hmm.
followers. And there was even a time I intentionally curated the vacancies I post. Even right now, the vacancies I post on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
basically C-suite. I don't
Yeah.
go anywhere lower
Yeah.
than C-suite. And
Okay.
I get a lot of people reaching out to me and all that. But maybe that's where my problem is. How to convert the interest to the sales. I think
Also,
that's
you may want to pre-qualify the interest before you talk to them too,
okay.
right? So you tell people, hey, I can help you get $100,000 a year job. I have a free coaching session for 15 minutes. Like everybody may take you up on the free one, right? But they may not be qualified financially or ready yet to actually pay for coaching yet, right? So you might need to have a pre-qualification step first,
Okay.
before somebody enters your free session, right?
Okay.
Maybe on your website before they sign up for you, you have a checkbox to say, "Hey, I understand it's a free session, and I'm able to spend X number of dollars for my personal investment." Like have them check that box, so they go in already knowing that I can do this, right? Um,
Okay.
I know when I was a coach, I used to have all these free sessions, and then once you start talking about money, like nobody wants to do it anymore, right? Right? It's because like
Ah,
you're like,
so it
man,
happens there too.
yeah, it happens. Yeah, great job, Amos. You helped me so much. All right, that's gonna be $1,500 for the next, 2 weeks. No, that's okay. I'm good. I'll get back to you. Because like I'm not pre-qualifying people, right? I'm talking to everybody, right? So you just gotta pre-qualify people too before you they get into that free session. Because if they're pre-qualified, the sale process can be easier too, right? The sale process can be
Okay.
easier, right?
Mm.
So work on the pre-qualification step too before you have these free conversations.
Okay.
Because like you can just do an experiment. If you got something this week, take one client. If you work on charge $100, say I'll do it for 10, and just see what happens, right? And then you'll start to see that, oh, it's not the number. Maybe it's the person coming into the funnel is the issue, not the number. So,
Okay.
hey, go ahead, DJ.
I have a question about a different topic, but I
Yeah,
do
go ahead.
have
You can switch.
another
Okay, good.
suggestion for
All right,
Bose.
all right. Give a
Okay.
suggestion and then change the topic.
Okay, thank you. With Bose, I know I was listening to you and I was thinking, well, maybe you could break down your coaching into classes. So for those who can't really afford the full coaching session, maybe instead of giving them all the career information, maybe you can focus on resume building and do individual classes that can be at a lower price point while you're trying to recruit different people. And then my question, off topic, is pretty much leadership. I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this question, but God has definitely called me into a leadership role in multiple areas of my life. So I'm at a process now of transitioning, so to speak. I'm opening a website for a women's ministry. I'm in the middle of writing a book I just finished. So now I'm working on self publishing. And I know
Hmm.
that God has called me into just leadership, within the church, within the community. So my
Hmm.
question is, how do you transition into leadership? Do you have any advice as far as characteristics I should be pursuing, or how maybe my prayer life or my study life needs to change? So, just
Hmm.
moving over into the leadership role, how to now begin to conduct myself, just any general advice of transitioning now that I've been called over to this side of the fence, so to speak.
Okay, okay. This is a good question. So let me ask you some more questions about the kind of leadership you feel God's calling you into. So just give me more details about that. Who is He calling you to lead? And the same question, like what transformation are you trying to lead them to? So tell me about that.
Okay, well, God is definitely calling me to women and children, specifically women who have low self esteem and a low concept of themselves.
Hmm.
He wants me to let them know that their distinct qualities that other people may have seen as flaws are actually qualities that he wants to use for his glory. A lot of these qualities are really stepping stones into their own individual ministries so they
Hmm.
can reach the women that other women have not been able to reach because they can relate to these women. The same calling is to children, specifically little girls, working on their esteem early. Some of the things that others are pointing out as their flaws to make sure that they have the right atmosphere in growing so that they don't become those women who have low self esteem and feel like they don't fit in, so that at an early age, Satan does not rob their joy or their purpose.
Okay, okay. All right. So tell me, how do you envision delivering your leadership to these people?
Well, I envision a website offering seminar type classes to these women and the girls, giving them an opportunity to discuss their different areas where they feel or lack, having esteem in. So I would
Hmm.
like to maybe package seminar classes that I offer maybe via Zoom or something of that nature to
Hmm.
kind of work through those areas. So we may talk about self doubt. We may talk about seeing your flaws as, God's specialty, uniqueness, things of that nature.
Okay. Okay. All right. So basically what you're doing, you're going to create some type of a women's academy, right? I'm just use that terminology, that's going to help your students uh, increase their self-esteem
Mhm.
so they can step into the areas that God wants them to lead in, something like that.
That is correct. So that they are empowered. I feel like a lot of those women are not living their purpose because Satan has their mind distorted to think
Hmm.
that they are not worthy and they are not capable. And
Hmm.
he's saying that their flaws are actually bad things, whereas God is saying,
Yeah.
no, your flaw is for me to
Hmm.
utilize. So I need them to see differently. I need to change their mindset so they can stop self-loathing and become self-aware.
Okay. So basically, the type of leadership that you're talking to, so there's different kinds of leadership, right? So there's the
Mhm.
leadership where you're in a organizational structure and you're trying to lead a group of people to do something for the company, right? We're trying to increase profits, we're trying to take over the world, right? But what you're
Mhm.
talking about is your call to lead people to make transformation, right, in this particular
Mhm.
area, right? So your leadership is similar to what I do. I'm trying to lead you guys into what you're called to do. I'm not leading a gigantic organization, but I'm actually leading you guys, right? And so the question is, how do you start carrying yourself, right? So you have to start to become the person that your students want to be like. Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ, right? And so that's a leadership conversation, right? So you look at your own life and ask yourself, how am I leading myself? Is my life something that people want to follow? What stories can I share from my life to help people see how I lead through some things, help people see how I develop my own self esteem, right? So in this particular space, you and your life becomes the what's the right word, becomes the blueprint per se, right? Even though they're not going to
Mhm.
follow you exactly, but you and your life kind of becomes the blueprint, right? So now you're leading in a way of transparency where people know a lot about who you are. They know a lot about your struggles. They know a lot about how you've overcome some things, right?
Mhm.
So when I just made the decision to close the Atlanta church last year, I knew I had to be transparent and open to share with all you guys, like why I decided to do that, right? Because I knew you guys need to see how I handled something that was not a success, right? So, and when I did that message on why I had to close down my church, I got way more calls from other pastors telling me my message helped them think through some things, right? Because your transparency in your own life and how you are dealing with some of these same issues you're leading them through is really going to kind of set you up to kind of be their leader, right?
Mhm.
So so I think the way you carry yourself differently is now you realize that everything you do has weight, and everything you say online adds to your credibility or takes away from your credibility, right? So you no longer can just say random stuff online anymore, right? Everything you say has to be measured and like, okay, will this help the people I'm trying to lead, right? You know, when I post videos, like some videos I'll just delete and I'll say, you know what? Um, this video is not clear enough. They might get the wrong idea. Um, or when something happens in the world, everybody's saying, this person's an idiot. That's not how leaders function, right? People who are trying to lead people um, the right way, their speech is more tailored. Their speech is more uplifting. They're not jumping into the comments, arguing with people about stuff, right? They're setting themselves apart as a leader, right?
Love it.
Right. And so I think that's more you have to work on. It's like, man, everything I do now, everything I say now, people, these ladies and these young girls are looking up to me. They're looking to see how I handle this thing. How am I praying for things I'm looking for? Right. How am I leading my life? How am I handling my own personal challenges? Right. Um, so I think that's some of the things you can start working on now. It's just creating stories to tell people about yourself, giving people a window into how you process and think, and then just sharing your heart, sharing, um, just some of the insights that you've gained throughout your years, so that can help them, right? So just kind of like with Bose, even though this is not a coaching business, it's still like a transformational business, right? So before they buy your course, they need to really know you, right? They need to know who you are. They need to know your ability to kind of take them from where they want to go, right? So that's kind of things I'm thinking. D, what is your thoughts as I'm kind of
I
processing this?
love that. That's such good advice. I appreciate it. I would guess my next question would be, how do I get them to know me? Do I maybe start a Facebook post every week, YouTube? How do I begin to engage an audience to get to know me?
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So I think the low hanging fruit is a Facebook page, not a personal profile, a Facebook page. And I'm giving this advice as of June 18th, 2025. Right, it could change if somebody listens later. Right.
Mhm.
Right now, at this very moment, I think a Facebook page and also a TikTok page are the best social platforms to get your message out. I think the best way right now, as of 10:48 a.m. June 18th, right? The best way is short form reels, right? Multiple times a day, posting content. Like you saying once a week. That's going to be too long, right?
Okay.
In our current information flow of stream, next week we could be at war with Iran next week, and then the week after that we could be in peace, right? It's like things is happening so fast now, right?
Mhm.
So if you are only posting once a week, that's too much. That's like throwing a rock into an ocean, right?
Mm.
Every week, hoping somebody's gonna find that rock, right? Versus every day throwing like 10,000 rocks into the ocean. Eventually, he's gonna hit somebody, right? So,
Mhm.
so the people who are really doing this well, they're like 100 times more output than we are, right? They're posting like 25 times a day on social media, right? Because what they realize is that social media is such a vast ocean that they got to get their message out. And the more times and more touch points they can create, it gives us more opportunity for their followers to people who um, want to not to their followers, their followers. So people who could use their services, the more times they post useful information, the more opportunities they have to actually engage, right? So for me, with what I'm called to do, one of the things that God gave me this week to go for is like on social media platforms, He wants 1,000 new people per day to hear my voice, right?
Amen.
So what I do is, me and my daughter, she's 16. We talk about this. We talk about these social media stuff. So I'll post a video and I'll look. Okay, all right, that video got about 500 views. Not enough. I need to go post another one, right? So so I keep at it until at least one video hits over 1,000 views, and then if I feel like those 1,000 views are not quite 1,000 new people, I'll post another one, and until I feel like, okay, I think 1,000 new people heard me today, right? And so And so that's kind of what we're thinking about if you're using these social media tools, right? It's a free platform where short form video right now is really reaching people, right? That 1 minute to 3 minute range is kind of where it's at right now. So I would think in this in terms of multiple times a day, not once a week.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a regular 9 to 5. So I
Yeah.
want to engage with these women, but at the same time, I have a family and I have, a regular job that I have to maintain as well. So
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I create a balance where it's not too much for, my current responsibility, but I know that God is calling me to reach these young
Yeah.
ladies
Hmm.
too.
Yeah. So which means that you need to do stuff. You need to focus your time on the actual reaching the people more so than develop the courses right now, then.
Mhm.
Right. So instead of trying to go out and build all the courses for sale, just spend all your time now just trying to build up a platform.
Okay.
Right. And so since you got a limited amount of time, you can't do everything. The most important thing you can do at the moment is just people need to know who you are.
Is it okay while I'm building that platform and making the short reels to lead a person back to the website I'm creating? Is that inappropriate to do that in the reel?
It's not inappropriate, but I'm thinking about in terms of your time, though, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're spending time trying to build up the platform, that's time you could have been building up your brand in terms of online.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Is it like so? Like, if you have limited time right now, you can't do. Hey, you say, okay, I got a family, I got a day job, I'm trying to build this course, I'm trying to get people to know me, and you're saying my time is limited, right? So I'm
Yeah.
saying the best use of your time is to build your platform.
Okay.
and,
So
and
on
don't
my
and don't and
web,
don't have them go anywhere other than to just stay on this platform right now.
I see.
You
So
know
my
what I'm saying?
website has a blog. Like I do a
No,
blog
no, not
on
even your
my
blog.
website.
Not even your website. I wouldn't even do a website.
Okay.
I would be strictly in social media spaces,
Got it. Thank
strictly in
you.
social media. Because remember, we're talking about limited time, right? Right.
Hmm.
So since we have limited time, the best thing right now is for people to get to know who you are, right? And you creating your own personal blog on your own personal website, that's like putting a lemonade stand in the middle of a desert. Nobody's coming by you,
Okay.
right? So
Yes.
remember, so we're trying to get to people, right? We're trying to get to people. So just like what Deborah was talking about, we have to go where the people are, not get the people to come to us.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what I'm thinking here for you is that given a limited time, post on social media, particularly just Facebook, TikTok, just those two platforms. YouTube is too hard right now. It's just YouTube got so much content. Short form video reels, 1 minute, 3 minutes. Um, Take a weekend, make like 10 videos on a weekend, and then just spread it out over the week, like so you can batch these videos so you don't have to kind of every day make a new video. Like, dress
Mhm.
yourself up in your nice outfit, put on your makeup, set the camera up, make like
Mhm.
10, 20 videos at once. It doesn't matter you're wearing the same clothes every video. It doesn't even matter, right?
Mhm.
And then just chop it up and then just deliver it throughout the week.
Okay,
That type of
sounds good.
thing.
So I shouldn't be trying to make an income at all. At what point should I start trying to make an income while I'm doing this ministry?
Yeah. So to make an income from this, um, it's going to be when you're ready to to because like so you told me because the reason I'm giving you some advice, 'cause you said you had limited time, right? Um,
Yes.
and so if you did have limited time, if you have more time, I would say in the back end you'd be building up your course in the back end. Um, I think in the moment, what I would have you do is behind the scenes, be working with people individually for free
Mhm. Mhm.
behind the scenes, right? With no course, because because just like with Bose, I think you need you need to be able to deliver your level of transformation to people to convince yourself that you can actually do it too. right?
Mhm.
You need to see people transformed by what you say to them and how you lead them through your content, through who you are, right? So I think behind the scenes, what I would have you do is for free is just be coaching people one on one, your information,
Mhm.
and you just do that until you're convinced that they're getting transformation and they're convinced they're getting transformation. And then you'll take all this knowledge. We won't be theory anymore. It'll be practically tested with people. And then you'll put it into a course, into a classroom, into a system, and then you'll start, promoting it. And then at that point, since you've been building up your following in social space, you have people who just ready to go deeper with you.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. So good question, D. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we do in the book publishing world is it's the same way. Most publishing companies only want to work with authors who already have an established platform, right? They know that the hardest part of selling a book is the platform you built before you wrote the book, right? And that's just how it is. So like if a million people already know your name, you're gonna be a bestseller, right? Period. So
Hey, thanks.
all right, guys, we got like 3 minutes. Anybody ask any final questions or any wrap up thoughts? Maybe go back to Bose or Deborah. Any wrap up thoughts as we wrap up this thing?
Pastor, I was just going to add to that as well too about you know uh, just it's just to keep being in my heart about going to people
Mm-hmm.
and again like we don't need to keep recreating this marketing cycle over and over again just for different topics for coaches. It's about thinking more kind of strategically and what is already, it's almost like doing a needs assessment, like who needs this
Mm-hmm.
advice? Who needs this coaching? Where is that population at? How is the best way, really doing a needs assessment of knowing your population and then what I would do is probably a partner with organizations that are already doing it, national, local, the health department, the school district, whatever it is, and becoming a volunteer consultant with them, becoming learning what they do, learning the research, learning what works, and being a part of their team, even if it is spending that time to and not getting paid for it, but getting trained, getting a certification in whatever area that is, and that's how you kind of break into that audience and more in a, I guess, a wider level than more of a narrow of just doing it, looking at one-on-one or looking at it one-on-one. So, I mean, there's many other efforts that are going on that are already bigger that are bringing in the people that need coaching or advice. And it's like getting on board with them and then going out on your own. So that was just what's on my heart as well, too.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. Yeah, that's a good point. Especially in the space of low esteem with women and girls, there's a lot of efforts going on with that too, that you can actually get involved with to kind of uh, uh, come alongside another organization and learn and grow. So, um, so yeah.
Yes.
So now,
Thank you.
so D, so let me ask you a question: Is there a financial rush you have on this that you need to really make money sooner than later, or are you okay with a long term play on this caller?
I'm definitely okay with long term. It was just always for me a ministry. And as I
Hmm.
began to just look at what I wanted to do, I have been told, well, you can make your ministry also be profitable so that while you're doing this, God can also bless you with an income while you're doing the work for Him. So,
Okay.
but I've always, been in between the two of, hey, I could do this for free. It doesn't matter to me. It's
Hmm.
not about the money, it's about reaching those women and girls.
Okay. And that's another conversation you probably have at another time is really looking at because like a lot of times I find people use the term ministry and business a little too loosely together. Um, because true ministry is always supposed to be free, right? And so,
Amen.
but business is pay, right? And so we always got to look at really and using the right term helps us understand what we're doing, right? Because what I see a lot of times is people say, "Hey," because if you don't use the right term, you'll self sabotage, right? So it'll look like this. Okay, in your mind, what you're doing is a ministry for women and girls, but you're trying to structure it like a business, which means that actually before these women and girls get access to your information, they got to pay you money, right? And they got to pay you a certain amount of money to make your business profitable. But if you're always trying to say, well, I really want to help as many people possible, I really want to charge them much, then you won't actually get around to making the hard decisions of how much to charge and rejecting people if they can't pay for your services, right? And so it's important to really settle in your heart, am I really in ministry or am I in business? Right. So I think you got to really kind of make that decision like hard. Like I know for me, like I'm in ministry, right? And I'm not here to really sell people stuff. You know, I might do like ministry school, stuff like that. But in general, I'm not really here to sell people stuff. I'm here to minister to people the word of God so they can grow and do the things God's calling them to do in the business space, right? That this is a free thing. This is ministry. And so the way I'm funded to do this is using the biblical concept of sowing and reaping and partnering, right? Versus when I was doing like software consulting, I was in business and I would charge people $5,000 to $10,000 for my time to build them stuff, right? It was no conflict of interest. If you can't pay me, you can't get this product, right? And so I think also what's going to help too is just make sure you have a clear understanding that, okay, God, am I in a ministry where I'm serving for free or I'm in a business where people are paying for access?
Amen. I really needed that clarity. That's perfect. I agree. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us for today's open forum. We'll go ahead and wrap us up here. And thank you, Deborah, for just bringing in that tried and true wisdom, right? You know, we always trying to throw a rock at the ocean, right? Just, no, let's just go where people are already, right? So thanks for bringing in that wisdom, Deb. Hope you enjoyed the replay of Open Forum, and I prayed it was a blessing to you. Remember, if you ever want to join us live, just go to churchforentrepreneurs.com, go to the calendar, look for Open Forum, and grab that Zoom information. To help us spread this podcast, please rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast player. And before we wrap up, I would like you to consider partnering with Church for Entrepreneurs. Church for Entrepreneurs' mission is to equip believers around the world, and it's partners like you who allow this mission to go forward. So go to churchforentrepreneurs.com/partner and partner with us if you believe this ministry is a blessing and will be a blessing to others. Thank you to all our current partners. Thank you guys for sowing into this ministry. All right, you guys be blessed, and I'll talk to you later.